Good afternoon. I'm Giovanna Tosetto and I'm pleased to welcome you here on behalf of Promo Turismo FVG in this nice place, which is Gemona del Friuli. And Gemona del Friuli is placed in the northern part of this territory, and it's became famous due to a strong earthquake that affected the city. If you look at my back, you see some of the ruins of a church. This was a church dating back to the 1500s, dedicated to the Holy Virgin, and it remains now as a, testimonial of these times and of the earthquake, 1976. Inside this church there have been important artists who have been employed, and we still have their paintings that are exhibited in the museum of the city. I'm talking about Cima da Conegliano and Pellegrino da San Daniele, two famous painters dating back to the 1500s and 1600s. Here is the beginning of our walking tour, and as you see on both sides of this street, you will be having contemporary architecture. That means contemporary, dating back to the 80s. And you will be asking yourself, what are we showing you? Italy is the cradle of arts, is an important historical destination. Yes, because we are here in Gemona del Friuli, and the town was affected by a strong earthquake on the 6th of May 1976. And all this area was completely destroyed. So the decisions of the politicians at the time was to rebuild with contemporary architecture. And they succeeded in doing this, and the reconstruction lasted just 10 years. That means that the people living here after 10 years could have been living in a normal house. But nevertheless, even though we have this contemporary architecture, we will be heading to the main street where the history of Gemona will unveil its past, and where we will be seeing the historical buildings, the cathedral, and something more interesting. And now we are doing this guided tour together with another person, who's a special person actually, and is Gabriele Marini. Ciao Gabriele, ciao.
Ciao.
And he was already an administrator during this 1976. And what I want to tell you is his experience during that evening when the earthquake, this strong earthquake, hit and caused a lot of casualties. Tu Gabriele ti trovavi proprio qui quella sera del terremoto del 6 maggio 1976?
In quella sera del 6 maggio eravamo qui assieme all'allora sindaco Benvenuti per esaminare un progetto che le Ferrovie dello Stato avevano presentato per la modifica della ferrovia tradizionale, la Pontebana. E proprio alle 9:05 è arrivata la prima scossa di avvertimento che ci aveva fatto allarmare, ma non tanto. Poi la successiva è stata devastante e ho ancora nell'animo la paura di questo terribile sommovimento che mi sembrava che non finisse mai. Effettivamente un minuto è una cosa che guardando l'orologio adesso a bocce ferme, sembra che passi subito. In realtà sotto il tavolo, per cercare di scansare le macerie e pensando naturalmente ai miei e poi soprattutto agli amici che erano assieme con me, alla gente qui di Gemona nel centro, che è stato un po' l'epicentro delle morti di Gemona, è una cosa che mi aveva colpito molto.
During that evening, it was exactly 8:59 p.m. we had a special meeting inside the town hall where we are standing now, because I was working as an administrator and we had to decide upon a project of a new railway passing through Gemona. And suddenly the first earthquake came, and it was the first shaking actually, and we were already frightened by this shaking, and a few minutes later on we had to experience something unbelievable. We ran under the table, and my thoughts went to my family, to my relatives, to the citizens of Gemona del Friuli, and it seemed as if the time wouldn't pass, and this earthquake lasted for almost 1 minute. It was 6.4 Richter, and Gemona del Friuli was the epicenter of this earthquake. E dopo che cosa è successo esattamente? Cosa avete fatto?
Sono uscito di questo antico palazzo, perché qui parliamo di un antico palazzo del 1502 che ci ha salvato la vita. Il palazzo, la Domus Communis, fatto dalla comunità gemonese, ha retto bene. Siamo riusciti, tutto quel nucleo di persone che eravamo dentro qua, e ci siamo trovati in mezzo a quello che era l'inimmaginabile. Montagne di macerie, urla da lontano delle persone che avevano bisogno e soprattutto una polvere impressionante. Non vedevamo più neanche il castello, e il dolore e la paura ci ha circondato subito.
And what happened afterwards? I asked. Afterwards, we were lucky because this historical building dating back to 1502 was damaged, but wasn't destroyed completely. So we succeeded in coming out of this building, and when we were outside, we couldn't see anything. There was just dust, people shouting, asking for help, and what I still remember is the fear and the feeling of, let's say, a kind of loneliness facing this unbelievable event. Ecco, però Gemona è anche la ricostruzione, no? E quindi noi adesso tu ci vuoi far vedere anche la parte storica di Gemona, quindi è iniziata la ricostruzione dopo, voi avete ricostruito la città.
Già subito nell'anno successivo si è cominciato a mettere mano a quelli che sono i piani regolatori, ma è importante dirlo adesso che nei 6-7 mesi successivi lo sgombero delle macerie di tutto il centro storico era già stato realizzato, quindi si poteva iniziare a ricostruire appena arrivavano i fondi dello Stato e della Regione e appena il Comune aveva approvato il piano regolatore. Nel 78 si è iniziato a costruire in centro e anche in periferia.
That means it didn't take so long. 2 years, in 1978 we started to rebuild all the buildings, even the city center. First we had to remove all the ruins, then we had to wait for the money from our national government and of course from our regional government, and then the approval of the municipality, and then we started with the reconstruction. And nowadays Gemona is a lively city, is a touristic destination, and it is worthwhile to be visited. That's the reason why we will go ahead with our walking tour with Gabriele, who's going to open for us special places which are normally closed or hidden spots of Gemona. Thank you. Buongiorno, buongiorno. So we entered this small shop along the main street of Gemona del Friuli, Via Bini. The name of the shop is Il Chanton. It's a typical local name that means the corner. And this is not just a corner. The lady is telling me in Italian that here you find everything from this region. starting from this very interesting and nice pottery coming from different parts of this territory, and of course, as everywhere in Italy, but here especially, something regarding the taste. From these nice, things made with fruits and apple juice from ancient apple juice, and then they do have the special cakes of this area. But if you enter this shop, you can buy something which brings you luck. In Italy, as you know, we are very superstitious. I'm showing you what the lady was telling me. You have to buy one of these bills, which are these typical small creatures. They've been, let's say, developed in the upper part of our territory, in the so-called Carnia area. You don't have to remove them from the place you put them, give them a name, and for sure, luck will come into your house. So what are you waiting for? You have just to come and buy them. Here I'll show you this amazing museum. This is the Museo della Pieve e Tesoro del Duomo. As you can see, there are plenty of pieces of arts, but one especially is very important, which is the ostensory. It's made of silver and gold. It's some kilos of silver, and it dates back to the 1400. The artist who did it is Niccolo Lionello, which is a very famous name in this area because he was the architect of another monument you can visit here in the most important city in the surrounding, which is Udine. He became an architect as well. The ostensory is exhibited in this museum close to the cathedral, to the Duomo. That will be our next stop. We enter this other room, which is in itself a treasure actually, because you can see that here we have an exhibition of books. They say simple books. No, they are not simple books. They are mass books. They were used to sing during the Holy Mass, and these ancient pieces of art, let's call them like this, were done in Padua and dated between the 1200 and 1300. So they have the influence for sure of Giotto school, and something interesting and curious in this room are especially two books. One with the details of Sant'Antonio, and most probably these are details very similar to the original, because they were being painted almost 60 years before the death of after the death of Sant'Antonio. And then we have the register of the people who were baptized here in this area, which is most probably one of the oldest baptistry books we can see. Quindi siamo arrivati di fronte a questo splendido Duomo, ma così imponente, Gabriele. Come mai un Duomo così imponente, così grande, con questo grande San Cristoforo davanti, proprio qui a Gemona?
La cittadina era una cittadina importante, seppur piccola nella dimensione del Friuli, però era importante perché era un luogo di transito, di commerci, e specialmente verso l'Austria e la Germania, e anche viceversa verso Venezia. La fortuna sua è stata questa, e il maestro Giovanni, che ha iniziato questo Duomo nel 1290 e completato nel 1337, è il capolavoro che oggi ancora vediamo, anche a seguito del sisma del 76.
So, I mean, this is the main church of Gemona del Friuli. It's really a huge Duomo, as we say in Italian. Why it's so big? Because Gemona was a long and important route where even the pilgrims were passing through, and it dates back to the between the 1200 and the 1300. And we even know the name of the artist who designed the Duomo, which is Maestro Giovanni. And it has been restored after the earthquake in 1976. The cathedral, il Duomo, and below, underneath this Duomo, there was a breathtaking discovery, which is a small chapel painted between the 1300 and the beginning of the 1400. And these frescoes, they belong to the school, to the followers of Giotto technique, and they've been restored. But this small chapel was facing the hospital, which was dedicated to Holy Michael, and it was the church of this hospital. And close to this chapel there is a special room, which is the collection of burial sites of more or less 6,000, between 6,000 to 12,000 persons who passed away between the 1300 and the 1800, when the cemeteries were just moved outside the town. And the restoration after the earthquake of 1976 gave us the opportunity of visiting this unique place. And here we are in the Film Library House. This historical building with this amazing Gothic architecture is hosting an important collection, one of the most important collections we can see and find in Italy. It started just during the earthquake of 1976, thanks to some young guys who were interested in cinema, or were studying cinema, or they had this hobby, and they started to shoot movies of the people who have been affected by the earthquake. And nowadays this represents one of the most important libraries and places where you can borrow movies, you can read books, and you can get closer to the actors, film directors, and everything regarding cinema. This film library collects altogether 25,000 books, and so it's a huge collection actually. And of course the United States are represented, just as you can see here, with Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse, and of course there are some other important artists and film directors who are not missing here in this temple of the movie and cinema, which is Andy Warhol, and all his production, as you can see on these interesting book and drawing facing and reproducing the history of Andy Warhol. And here this is a special corner because this corner relates to the family, to a very famous American family, which is the Kennedy family. This collection started as a passion for this family, and it has altogether more or less between 200 and 300 books, and there are of course many audiovisual regarding the history of this family, and newspaper articles after John Fitzgerald Kennedy died, and everything regarding these feelings and the news that were related to Kennedy. And this is the other site the second side of La Cineteca del Friuli. That means this is where the archives and the store and the repairing area is to be found. The architecture reminds us of this territory with the pebbles of the Friulian river, the river Tagliamento, and at the back with the movie shooted during the past regarding the last, Gli Ultimi, and this place was opened in 2008. There are a few guys working here, and now we will be entering some rooms, and I will show you what's going on in this place. Maybe you think that we jumped into winter. No, it's not like this. I had just to wear this heavy coat because I enter this huge room, which is a refrigeration room actually, for these movies. And it's containing almost 25,000 film cans. If you think about how many film cans were used for a normal movie with a length of 1 hour and 30 minutes, just guess, more or less 6 film cans were used for a movie. And here they are catalog. There is a kind of, let's say, identification number, which is the number of the title of the movie, the year. Where do they come from? They come from the private collection of La Cineteca del Friuli, and they are stored here from other regional institutions from different towns here in Friuli Venezia Giulia. So this huge, amazing collection of movies all at once in this place. And I think it's worthwhile to come and see it. The temperature here inside, I'm freezing, is 4 or 5 degrees above zero, so I hope to go out as soon as possible. And now we come into this room, and Simone will be guiding us and telling us what there is here, what are these tables for?
Yes, this is the analog laboratory in where we take the films and we inspect them, we identify them, and we catalog them on a database on our computers with an inventory and a single position in the cellars that you've seen before.
It's interesting. And then something more, I think that you are using this table for something else, right?
Yes, this is the viewing tables in where we can be sure of which film we have, we see it, and we hear it.
It's interesting, very, very interesting. I think it's, an amazing place. I would have never thought that something like this can be here, just very close to Gemona we have visited before. So it's this Cineteca, it's not just a film library, but it's actually a place where you study the movies, you try to maintain them, and you keep them in the store, right, Simone?
Yes, we keep them for hoping thousands and thousands of years.
Thank you very much indeed, thank you. And now we enter this room, and I'm here with Alessandro, who's working in this room together with Andrea, and I'm asking Alessandro, what you do here actually with all these computers and things like this?
Well, we here finally transform the movies on film in digital films to project at cinemas or whatever use we can wish to do. So we have this post-production computers where we
Yes.
can, of course, do restoration, cleaning of the image, and of the sound also. We recover the sound. And of course, we have these two scanners, which are the machines who practically make this possible to
Yes.
transform the movies on film in digital films. And this is the first one who arrived here in 2013, and it can work with 35 and 60 millimeters. And the other one can also digitalize smaller formats from 8 millimeters to 35 millimeters. With this, we can have a maximum resolution of 2.5K, and with the other one, we can have a maximum resolution of 5.1K.
I am astonished. I mean, I've never seen something like this. There are so many places, similar places in Italy where you can have something like this, or this one in Friuli Venezia Giulia is something really very, very important. What do you think about this, Alessandro?
Well, of course, it's very important for us too,
Yes.
this one. But yes, there are other archives and laboratories who can digitalize films all around Italy.
Yes, it's very, very interesting, amazing. Thanks a lot, Alessandro.
very
Thank
welcome.
you. We are at the end of our tour, and we end with the film library today. But Friuli Venezia Giulia is waiting for you with open arms.